Hope you are enjoying your day. Welcome again to Real Talks One podcast. Today we are going to understand the state of union in US perspective, and we'll look at various economic developments that are happening here in the US. So we have just concluded the month of May, and today entered into 1st of June here. And while elections have just wrapped up in India, and already exit polls are out, I'll also do another one, maybe possibly tomorrow, a video upon India results and what to expect in future, which is not a surprise. Pretty much everyone is saying the same thing. But let's concentrate on the US economy. So while a lot of things were going forward and things were very bit choppy with respect to layoffs that we were hearing, it has come to notice that Google, especially in their GCP unit, have done a major restructuring and have cut multiple roles across the board, including a lot of roles at director levels and, of course, a lot of individual contributors. It's unclear as to how many roles have been impacted, but I'll not be surprised if they go in touch into perhaps 1,000 people as well. So far, what we are hearing is mostly in hundreds of layoffs that are happening across GCP within Google. And while one thing to note here is that GCP has been aggressively growing, while it is the third largest cloud provider, public cloud provider, primarily just behind Azure, number one being AWS. So uh, business still seems to be robust, but I guess efficiency is the name of the game. If any one of you have been hearing me, I did mention in the start of the year this will be the year of efficiency, and these broad cuts will keep happening across the time. So while some silent layoffs have been happening across the Google organization from time to time, this new development is more kind of on a broader scale and a massive one. So while we were actually learning about Google, meanwhile Amazon stepped up and they themselves announced another round of layoffs. Again, it's unclear right now as to how many people have been impacted, but it is being estimated that it could be in hundreds, and I'll not be surprised if it touches thousands as well. So again, Amazon has cut shut more people. What I'm talking today is not something that has happened in the past. This is just more recent, like within this last 1 or 2 days, these news have been developing, and it is also expected that people who are being cut will going to keep hearing about these in the next few days as well as we move forward. I did initially mention about Walmart shutting down some of their locations, such as Toronto, Dallas, and Atlanta earlier in the month in May, just before their stock, yeah, quarterly announcements. Now it is coming to terms that they have done broad-based cuts in their e-commerce division, and many other cuts that are happening in Walmart to a tune of, like, again, hundreds of people are being cut. And again, I'll not be surprised if it basically goes into thousands. This time around, many people have been given a notice, and it is expected that many more people will hit the roads after August. That is what has been learned, especially in Walmart. So you see a pattern here. So we talked about Amazon, we talked about Google and Walmart, and throughout this year, these all these companies have done repeatedly multiple layoffs, and not mentioning Tesla, which every day was laying off left, right, and center across the board. So Tesla can be considered as an exception, but now exception seems to be the rule, because pretty much whether it is big tech, whether it is a successful company, whether it is a startup, everyone seems to be in the same game of efficiency, cost cutting, and layoffs. So we need to understand that the economy is in a very different kind of state right now. We haven't seen something like this any time in the last decade or so. Since last 2 years, things have been very, very uncertain. A lot of things are just happening, and there is no rational reason for that. This year, particularly 2024, has been even more surprising because a lot of people imagined that layoffs and efficiencies behind our back, because a lot of that happened throughout 2023, and maybe 2024, maybe there may not be a lot of new hiring, but there will not be many cuts. Unfortunately, that's not holding true today. And even though companies are posting profits, they're ramping up their revenue, still they're cutting out basically people. Now, shifting gears to another development that is happening in the tech industry. So, I'm going to speak about the software as a service model, SaaS, the pioneering company Salesforce, which basically started this SaaS revolution almost 2 decades back. And since 2006, they have been consistently growing their revenues across the level. This time around, their stock has gotten beaten by 20%, and it is being estimated that in future this is going to be a choppy growth. So it has given a forecast that they may not see enough revenue growth, and there is uncertainty in the market. And I think it could be due to that Salesforce have already penetrated in the US and the European markets, and it's kind of saturated, so they're not able to find new grounds where they can sell more CRM licenses. Secondly, I think it could also be that other players such as HubSpot, and maybe even Freshworks, that is based out of India, are giving tough competition to Salesforce, because these companies seem to target more like small and medium businesses and mid-market enterprises who use CRM systems and ticketing systems to manage their workforce and sales channel and things along those lines. So it could be that there are multiple threats in respect with the incumbents, especially like Salesforce is having to deal with HubSpot and Freshworks in their home turf. And secondly, it seems that both the US and the European markets seem to be saturated now. So new avenues of growth have to be found, and perhaps they will have to penetrate APEC markets. But as everyone understands, right, the APEC market is not the biggest software market. Generally, the leading indicator is US, which is where they spend the most money. That is where all these companies make their money, followed by Europe. And even though APAC is a large growing market, but it's still a very tiny fraction in terms of revenues. So is it specific to Salesforce itself, or is it indicator of the entire SaaS community? So any kind of analytic apps, or work collaboration apps, um, any kind of apps that are there for CRM or PeopleSoft or HRMS, etc., it's quite possible that the whole industry is going to have challenging time, because in the last decade or so we have seen, because of almost zero interest rate or very low interest rates, all these companies were able to sell a lot of licenses across the board. I mean, in SaaS there is no concept of license, it is mostly about recurring revenue. They were able to sell those kind of things. But with the change in economic environment, with a lot of headwinds ahead of us, we don't know exactly how the US election will play out. It's an election year here in the US as well, and November is when the elections will be over in here. So we are anticipating a lot of more turmoil. Fed has still not reduced the rates of interest, so it is impacting software or the high tech industry quite a bit right now, and we can easily see that in SaaS. So my thinking is we'll have to wait and watch. But CRM, like the Salesforce, has already been beaten down by 20%. There is a possibility this stock may continue to slide and may come down to almost like 30% low, or maybe even it go down to like 50% actually. And maybe it is a signal that the entire SaaS industry, which comprises of multiple other companies in multiple other domains, whether it is marketing automation or analytics or things along those lines, that are also selling SaaS products, may get impacted, and they may see consolidation. So there are two things that I'm looking at. I see there could be some mergers and acquisitions that may happen, wherein larger players will acquire a lot of these workflow automation, Salesforce automation, or maybe analytics company, visualization companies, or collaboration companies, or HRMS systems, or financial systems, etc. Will start, consolidating. Second thing I'm looking at is that because a lot of enterprises right now are all in cost cutting mode, so they no longer want to invest a lot in like analytics and the CRM systems, etc. So that could also be impacting the revenues of these companies. And last but not the least, as I said, the forecast for the growth is kind of very mixed, and as a result it is getting a beating. Meanwhile, I also saw that even Intuit, which is the tax filing software company, is also seeing a slide in their shares. And this is not directly related with SaaS, but even though their model is also SaaS, it is related because IRS has now made the direct filing as permanent. So they offer like a website wherein if you are an individual taxpayer who is on W-2 and doesn't do any kind of business and other complicated issues, they can just use the IRS website to file their taxes in the US primarily. So this is a direct blow to Intuit, which was the largest player here in the US, which does tax software. So I think this is should not be thought of as like issue in the SaaS market itself. It is, I think, domain specific because IRS is offering the software freely, and I mean, for some filers, even all these TaxAt, Intuit, and other kind of tax filers also offered a free software if your income was under $60,000. I think that's the range right now. Don't quote me on this. I may be a little bit wrong because I never used Intuit or a free service to file my taxes due to the fact that I own businesses and I have to do like much more complicated taxes. Yeah, but I'm just sharing some of the details around the economy and how tech industry is kind of shaping. Uh, you know, while I'm talking about these things, I need to mention that AI still remains to be like a big thing in the industry. Specifically, generative AI still has a lot of heat, lot of controversies. A lot of people are still investing in it, especially startups. So more recently, Elon Musk, when he was trying to get hold of OpenAI, he could not. So finally, he ended up basically raising $6 billion in X.ai, his AI initiative startup. So now you can imagine that the race to generative AI is only going to heat up further. So now you, on one end, you have OpenAI led by Sam Altman, who is trying to raise $7 trillion. On the other end, Nvidia stock just popped because it has surpassed $1,000 mark, and Nvidia record revenues and record profits second time in a row in this year. So which has pushed its like stock beyond $1,000. It was hovering at like 800, 900 ish kind of thing. So Nvidia is having its day, right? So Nvidia is having its day. Open AI just introduced GTP 4.0 uh, O version, right, which basically allows you to do video, audio, um, image, and all of those kind of inputs in the single plane. And they did claim that it is going to be freely available. So they made this announcement. Gemini came out with their own. Meta has initially already mentioned that they are going to open source. They already open source their own llama models. And now Elon Musk has come out with his own company, X.ai, again focusing on the AI race as well. So this generative AI race will continue to heat up. It will become very interesting. But you would see one another pattern here in the whole industry, that the people who are trying to get the benefits out of like generative AI and trying to introduce it into their day-to-day enterprises, those business use cases are still not extremely clear at this point of time. So it almost seems like people are throwing darts in the dark and hoping one of the darts will hit the wall or the bullseye, and maybe we'll get a magic use case. But apparently that's not something that is happening. So what is happening right now, lot of these platform players are building core capabilities in generative AI, and all the big names have jumped into it. So Microsoft is there, you have Meta, you have Amazon, you have Google, you have OpenAI now, X.ai. All these big people who are all billionaires or they have a large companies are pumping money in the AI, and hence it is directly benefiting the shovel makers of today, right? So Nvidia is like having the last laugh to the bank, because no matter who is building these generative AI products, they are using more and more infrastructure, compute infrastructure. The GPUs that Nvidia is selling are selling like hot cakes, and as a result, their stock is like going like completely to the moon, basically. So, but in the industry, we are not seeing any specific implementations wherein companies can confidently state that, okay, after using generative AI, they were able to get this kind of revenue lift, or they were able to improve their customer experience in this specific fashion. It is still in the experimental phase, and right now the guardrails for generative AI have still not been developed. And now we start hearing a lot of cross views where people are questioning whether it is going to really benefit people, etc. One thing I can definitely say that on a personal level, it can definitely improve productivity of individuals, and possibly in certain extents in certain teams as well. I have You can check out the podcast that I talked about whether generative AI is going to eat up our jobs, and I certainly believe it will, because at the end of the day, if you had to do a research and it used to take you like 3 4 days just to collect information, summarize it, consolidate it, etc. Now through chat GPT or generative AI, you can do that in the matter of minutes or probably in matter of hours. If earlier you had to like use 3 4 people to help you sort it, bring the information together, consolidate, copyright it, etc. Now through the generative AI, you may only need 1 or 2 person to do it and not the whole team to do it. So in that sense, it is improving the productivity. Like now you do not have to incur that much cost at a personal level to generate the same kind of content, and even sometimes even better than what you used to do earlier. So in that respect, generative AI is very very helpful, especially in the information retrieval space, researching space, and publishing space. So I can definitely see a direct correlation there. Similarly, any kind of creative industry, whether it is video publishing, music publishing, audio publishing, article publishing, even coding. So people who like to develop software are also using chat gpt, copilots, and generative AI on a day-to-day basis, and can get exactly like simple code snippets, etc., rather quickly. So earlier what used to happen in the coding industry is people would go search Stack Overflow or search over Google to find, okay, how do I use this Python library, or some example about a specific algorithm, etc. So what they will get is a like a gist, like an answer, and then they had to understand that concept and then implement it itself, because it was not directly applicable to their own specific domain. With chat gpt on the other hand, or even the generative AI co-pilots that we have available right now, you can specify specific prompts and it will generate code specific to your domain. So it's not merely just like finding something similar to what you want, it will give you exactly what you want, as long as you of course proofread it and make sure it has no bugs and things like that, because it has also tendency to give you bugs and something unwanted, like bugs that you did not ask for, because there is some errors. But I'm saying that if you are clever enough that you write the prompts correctly, if you proofread the code that has given, you test it really well, it can really improve the productivity there. Let me see a comment. There is a comment from Shiv Joshi. Thank you for your stream. Appreciate Shiv there. But if you had any questions, please feel free to ask it. I have a habit of replying a prompt to out here. And if I don't know, I can always say no, that I'll get back to you later on. But having said that, what I'm trying to say there is that we are already in June, right? So we have already completed the month of May, and even now, the inflation still is pretty high in the US. Fed has not cut down the rates. The companies are laying off left, right, and center. So we have seen like Walmart, Google, Amazon just announced layoff in the last like 1 or 2 days, and looks like that even as we enter June, there will be a lot of other layoffs also going to happen across the board. So it is not going to be just limited to these companies, but entire big tech across the board. And as I said, I have talked about this earlier as well. A lot of government, federal organizations, and funded agencies are also laying off people across the board. So I've seen a lot of school, administrators, a lot of school teachers, nurses actually across the US are getting laid off. So healthcare industry, education industry, real estate, mortgage, uh, banking, financial institutions, big tech, small tech, startups. Like basically, the more people that I talk to, the more I read across like social media and talk to people, I'm finding that people who have jobs are like very, very anxious because they don't know when they could be cut. So they're having very, very tense time. And a lot of people now have to work, burn the midnight oil, actually, as they call it, and they have to work extremely hard to like put a like a projection that they're like very hard working. They're spending a lot of time just to demonstrate that they should not be cut. But having said that, I can tell you, at least they are having like their paycheck. But the people who are already checked out, even people with multiple fang experience, like I know of so many people who have like 10 to 15 to 20 years of experience, having worked for Amazon, Google, Meta, not individually one company but multiple fang companies over a period of time, are having tough time in even cracking jobs of tier 3 and tier 4 companies. So that's the level of anguish and uncertainty that people are having, especially in 2024. So I can completely tell you that it's a very different time that we are living in. I have been through like seen the 2008 2009 recession, financial meltdown. I know because I was starting my career back during the dot-com bubble burst. So I know the after effects of 2001 also, and how difficult it used to be to get a job at that point of time. Thankfully, I was lucky enough, and you can check out my video about happiness. I've talked about the failures that I had before I could crack a job and finally start moving. But I can tell you, as part of an alumni group, I get to see that so many people this time around at IITs like IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, etc. There have been RTIs been posted that those classes, the people who are studying for placements, like 30%, 20% are not being placed this time around. So situation is extremely bad. So I mean, in India, nobody would have imagined that people from even going to IITs would need help in getting placements, like, right? Like we grew up learning that in IITs, like pretty much everyone has 2 3 jobs, and even the worst candidate there will at least have one job before they pass out. This time is completely different. People who are at the bottom in the ranking, even in IITs, are having tough time. I don't think that's the case with people with computer science degree or electrical or electronics. Mostly other fields such as engineering, physics, civil, mechanical, textile engineering, etc., would be having tough time because overall the IT industry is going through a lot of transformation, and a lot of jobs are being cut. So that's a very, very tough time for a lot of people. So let me read couple of comments out here. So Ankit, DRV, is all of healthcare, banking, finance layoff due to AI? So I think I just try to explain this thing. So these are all independent things that are happening right now. As I said, the implementation of AI, especially, so AI has been used across the domains for last decade plus, specifically the generative AI, which is what has come in the last couple of years, like let's say last 2 years, and companies have started experimenting it. As of now, there is no theory that proves that because of generative AI, companies are cutting costs, even if they say so. Right now, these cost cutting that is happening and the layoffs that are happening is in light of the broader economic change challenges that we see. There are a lot of headwinds ahead of us. We don't know how these things are going to basically benefit people or how they are going to impact people. As I said, there are just too many diverse views that are coming in, and as a result, companies do not believe that in the next near future there is going to be growth, and hence they're trying to conserve their cash, they're trying to be more efficient. This is driving the layoffs and the cuts across industry sectors right now. I don't think it is directly attributed to AI, at least at this point of time. Next, I'll move on to Shiv Joshi. You mean tech people in software engineering and good provincials are also getting laid off? Yes, Shiv. Unfortunately, I have had talks with so many different people. I'm reading so many comments from different people, and unfortunately, the truth is, people in software are also getting cut. And the reason, again, I'm saying mostly the reason is due to the fact that there is a lot of uncertainty. I talked about like SaaS in this very podcast, right? That the SaaS industry is getting hit from multiple angles, and it used to be a very very big industry, right? And then secondly, as I talked about, all the big tech is now focused on cost cutting and year of efficiency. So they are announcing repeated layoffs. Even if they keep claiming AI, it's like a vicious cycle, because the more they keep saying AI and demonstrating that, oh, due to AI we are cutting these things, then maybe other companies will bite into this narrative and maybe buy more AI services, hoping to improve their own AI capabilities. Fact of the matter is that AI, specifically the generative AI that people are talking about nowadays, has not reached a stage where you can sustainably use it in a fashion that directly impacts a specific use case. But on an individual level, as I said, like individual productivity definitely is on a rise, and even a team productivity could be on a rise. As I said, if you are researching certain thing, even in coding, even in publishing music, video and things along those lines. So of course there are some pockets, and if you know how to use those prompts and leverage it well, it is definitely going to improve your productivity. But in an enterprise setting right now, we have not seen any proof of specific use cases where they have sustainably implemented generative AI, which is directly producing either revenue improvement, customer experience improvement, operational efficiency, and things along those lines. So it remains to be seen that if we find specific use case. So far I've seen either they continue to keep building bots, and bots are not helping quite a bit, or they keep implementing building like a vector based search or hybrid search with vectors and things along those lines, and none of them have very good results out. It's all kind of mixed right now. So it's very difficult to say or find any meaningful use case where generative AI has actually improved our lives in a big way. But on a individual level it has improved, and I personally have seen benefits of it, and a lot of people I'm talking to have seen that. But it has not translated into enterprise productivity improvement, and it has not resulted in like a big specific use cases. So I don't have any specific examples, but having said that, I will not be surprised if it does happen in the future. But for now, as we speak, these layoffs are not specifically due to AI as such. It is mostly driven by the uncertain economic times in which we are sitting, and people are trying to conserve their cash, like as we as individuals are trying to conserve our cash because we don't know the future that is there. Similarly, companies are trying to conserve their cash and be more kind of optimistic, be more efficient in the operations. That's what is happening right now. So next, I am reading Piyush Ludd. I work in financial risk. Do you think the layoff would hit safe fields like risk management at a bank? So, Piyush, right now, I hope it doesn't happen to you or in your industry, but unfortunately, there is no safe industry right now. In fact, in the risk field, you can apply AI pretty systematically, because I personally have used a lot of ML and AI in risk management. We call that sector as trust and safety. You can check out on our own channel. We have actually built a software which wherein we use AI to tackle trust and safety like counterfeit, fraud, risk, and things like that. So a lot of payment companies, fintech companies already use a lot of machine learning in combating fraud and risk and cyber security. So I definitely think unless I don't even know, like I know like Capital One, JP Morgan, all of them have laid off a lot of people, and I know it is happening across the domains and departments. I don't wish this to happen to anybody out here, But I'm here to tell the truth, and the truth is no function is basically safe right now. So everyone has to be extra cautious. Keep your eyes and ears open. Look what is happening around it. There is a certain podcast that have talked about, look for signs of layoffs in your company and see if it can impact you. I'll encourage you, Piyush, to, and others also, to go check out that podcast as well, to look for those signs and be prepared. Like if anything happens, then basically it doesn't come as a shock to you, because right now basically everything is fair game. Companies are very conscious at this point of time, and they are like basically cutting people left, right, and center from wherever they are able to cut fat right now. uh, Let me read the other question. So Shivansh Sharma, should I take a part-time course in AI and chat GPT kind of stuff, even if I work in analytics at a bank? How to save myself from the layoff? I think and it would be hit hard by AI chat GPT. Shivansh, that's a very good question, and I think it will help other people as well who are live right now and who join into this channel. So yes, analytics as a whole field, as I said, is a subsection of like software or data engineering, as we can call it. And through use of AI and Chat GPT, you can generate tons of analytics by default. Like so, you don't need like any Tableau or Pentaho or Quick View or any kind of those visualization tools that you used to use in the back back in the day, or Power BI or whatever tool that you, or maybe even plain Excel that you use to build those analytics, pie charts, and dashboards, etc. Now, through Chat GPT and through AI, you can basically design these dashboards in the fly, like the business manager. Let's say you earlier used to serve like marketing team or finance teams or even sales team, and they used to come back to you and saying that, hey, I need to create a like a countrywide division of sales numbers by revenue and cost of revenue. Now they can specify this thing in Chat GPT, and Chat GPT will build the chart like right away. All a person would need to do is now integrate this chart with the systems of the company, and basically the dashboard is done. So things which are rather simple, which do not require very complicated design and architecture, can very easily be replaced by automation of using Chat GPT, co-pilots, and AI. So unfortunately, Shivansh, my answer here is, if your management is really interested in AI and Chat GPT, etc., they can easily automate these tasks. Again, it is always important that there is a lot of free content online. Like on my own podcast, I have shared a lot of details around AI, Chat GPT, ML in general, because I have been practicing. I'm a dropout I'm a dropout of PhD actually, and my topic was AI back in the day. So I know something or the other about this, and luckily I also work in this field. So I know enough about this to let all of you know that a lot of free content is available on this channel as well as other channels also. I don't say that only look at my channel. There's tons of channels on YouTube that provide a lot of this free content. So tune into that, learn how to use Chat GPT, learn what are the risks, what are the benefits, etc. But again, it is very difficult to basically safeguard yourself. So understand this thing, right? Whenever any one of us work in a company, no matter how much knowledge we have, no much how much good we are, we can get laid off. And it has become abundantly clear in the last 2 years that companies are now focused on efficiency. Wherever they see an opportunity, they will cut costs, and it means eliminating people. There could be another reason why this is also happening, is there is a lot of shareholder pressure on companies to cut cost, etc. So even the top executives sometimes don't know, it is not there. So it's not necessary that your manager is deciding to cut you off. Even sometimes CEOs do not, it's not their decision. This decision is enforced by the board or the stockholders of the company, that push these companies to take these drastic measures. And as you can see, my other podcast also I have mentioned, it's very easy for a company to lay off 10% people like in a blink of a button. So think about, like, a company has 100 people, they had 10 teams of 10 people each. If they say 10% layoff, they can just cut one person from each team and they're done with it. And it will be very very easy for them to do it. It will not be easy for the people who are cut. It may not be easy even for the team from which the person has been cut. If let's say that person was very critical and they needed that person, what will happen is that after that one person is cut from the team, rather than that team completely falling apart, now that one person's work will be distributed across rest of those 9 people, right? So what management will do, they will still give the same goals, they'll still give the same time. Now these 9 people will have to work extra hard to fill in for the one person that has been laid off. So they will achieve two objectives with this. One, the person is laid off, so they no longer have to pay the salary for that person, so they are saving the cost. Plus existing people will work now extra hard because now they are under the fear that if they don't, then they could be the next in the line of layoff. So it's an unfortunate time, and you can always argue, right, this will create a bad culture. Well, guess what, if the big tech doesn't care about the culture, like you see, like any company, Google, Meta, Amazon, repeatedly laying off people. Walmart was considered as like very stable company. In recession, Walmart is even more better because hey, people have to eat food, they'll still buy from Walmart, right, like groceries and things like that. But that's not stopping them from layoff. In fact, Walmart has done phenomenal as far as their stock has seen, like it's already now at I would say 64. This is the best performing rate for Walmart if you see in the last like so many years. In the last like 2 3 years also, this is their all time high actually, the stock. So stock is doing well, revenue is happening well, still they're cutting people. So nobody is safe. So again, I'm telling, whenever I talk about a layoff, it may seem like very alarmist, etc. See, most of the people are still working. Companies are not laying off like 90% of the people, right? So 90% people are still working. They always cut like 10%, 15%, 5%, something like that. So if they keep doing this enough number of times, your strength keeps reducing, but you still have major bulk of the people still working, right? So it's just that it creates that psychological so earlier companies used to have psychological safety. Now it is creating psychological threat, because as soon as they cut people from your team, now you become very cautious, you work extra hard, etc. So in a one sense, that's not good in a leadership, like a long term perspective, because any given point of time, if you feel cornered, then you'll just give it up. He said, like, role, like you don't want to die on a daily basis. Like once you're cut forever and you're done with it. But if you keep hearing about this daily constant layoffs, then your mind also busy checks out, saying that, right, like I don't care about all those things. If the layoff has to happen, it will happen, I'll just do what I want to do. So sometimes we also get into that kind of a scenario. So be cautious, focus on your health, focus your energy on upskilling yourself. If see, I am a very big believer in destiny. So if your destiny is that you are going to be laid off, there is nothing that you can do to avoid that. And but try to just focus on your health, your energy, upskill, do whatever you can do. Like I'm not saying that stop working, because if the destiny is such that you're anyway going to be laid off, then why should you work hard? There is a saying, right, karma is something that we need to do. We cannot expect the fruits of, like, the outcomes of the karma. We don't control them, but we do control like how we operate and how much effort that we put. I mean, I will even go to the next extent. Like the way my mind works is also not controlled by me. So even if I'm doing this podcast, this is being controlled by someone else, because my mind is hardwired in such a way that whether or not somebody asks me, I'll still do this podcast and I'll still speak my mind no matter what, how many difficulties I might be going through or whatever the circumstances might be. So I would just say, just continue to focus on yourself, upskill yourself, and if a layoff has to happen, it will happen. There is nothing you can do about it. Look for those signs that I've talked about in this podcast, and if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, then that's part of your destiny. That's how I will say this one. So now let me ask. So Ankit DRV, at my job they are not introducing AI chat GPT incrementally. If they introduce it, I can learn it. I think it will come with a surprise. Sure. I think not many companies, right? So if you think about it, the internet companies or the big tech, especially like Google, Meta, Tesla, or even Microsoft, Amazon. These companies are in the forefront of AI, right? So of course they will use this quite often. And then there are companies like Airbnb, Yahoo, and then Uber and Lyft, Stripe. All these flagship like startups also use AI, or Expedia or PayPal or eBay, etc. Sometimes companies that are outside of big tech, or they are not internet companies, a little bit slow in adopting those kind of things. So even if your companies are not adopting chat gpt, etc., you should personally adopt, so that you are familiar with how easy it is to build these dashboards and scripts of programs and all, like rather quickly, right? So that you get a first taste of it. Like if you were running a company, and if I were to give you a tool through which you don't need to employ 10 people, and you can just have one or two people and still develop your website and run your business, would you still go ahead and employ 10 people and like pay them, or you'll just employ two people and do it? Do the math yourself, right? So you'll know this is the same way companies are thinking right now. So, Shivam Sharma, I used to think Fang, Walmart, etc. cared for people than banks, but now I see banks more reasonable. Maybe big bank are next, and layoff of bank coming soon. So yeah, Shivan Sharma, as I said, it's just the economy, right? As I said, I have been through 2008, 2009 time frame as well, and I have also, like, I was just starting my career during like 2001, 2002 time frame, so I've seen that as well, and it was very tough for me to even get a job at that point of time. And I'll tell you, like, I have been always above, been at least above average, and very good in my academics and application, and even I had a tough time in starting my career at that point of time. So I don't think it is more about like big tech companies or big banks. I think we are in a bad economic cycle at this point of time. So whenever these changes in economic cycle happen, whosoever are in those change economic cycles will have to bear the brunt of the economy. So it's not about the company in which you are working, it's more about the economy in which we are. And as a part of it, every company that is there is basically laying off without basically thinking about the long term consequences. So in fact, I have made a podcast on mental health as well, so you can check it out as well. But as I said, a lot of banks have already laid off, like Capital One I know for sure, JP Morgan I know for sure, earlier Citibank also laid off several people, HSBC Bank laid off a lot of people. So if you check out my own podcast, you will see so many podcasts that have covered so many different banks, big tech companies, and yeah, so it is happening across the board. So I don't think banking sector is not going to be insulated from any kind of layoffs. So Shivan Sharma, Ankit, thanks for the live stream. Thanks, Ankit. Ankit had another question. Maybe I should learn carpentry, plumbing, electricity, electrical, flooring, roofing to make money for my family. Yeah, in fact, I had a specific podcast where I talked about unemployment, and I did mention that if you are specifically in the US or in Canada, I think learning trades is a great way to make money. So uh, like there are specific areas, right, like Seattle area, San Francisco area, New York area, there is dearth of like skilled tradesmen. So whether it is plumbing, carpentry, auto mechanic, the electrician, even welder, like lot of such kind of people are required right now in trades. I mean, it's a like even if you see the level of construction that is happening, like I see outside all the time, there is new buildings are coming up. So even like general contractor, house development, plumbing, and just building the buildings, etc., require a lot of people. And right now, a lot of economic activity in these areas is happening. And I also see like a lot of retailers still hiring a lot of people. And even in just basic retail job, areas such as Seattle and San Francisco and Bay Area, they're easily paying $25 an hour, whereas the state minimums, especially in the Washington, used to be $15, and they're still paying like almost 20, like open for $20 I've seen multiple times, and even $25 to start as a retailer, which is kind of no skill job. For if you go for like electrician or plumbing, etc., the rates are like even higher, like easily you can make like $50 to $70 an hour. In fact, even house transport, like the relocation. So people who take your stuff from one apartment to another, they are charging like $100, $150 an hour if they get clients. So yeah, I think in trades there is a lot of opportunity. So if people get laid off and they're still thinking how do they make money, it will be great to try out your hand as a handyman, or pick up a trade and try to do it. If you have a passion for, let's say, car mechanic, if you can do certain, I mean, I did it myself, so I'll give you my example. So back in 2021, I took my car to Goodyear service station, and they mentioned that they recommend me to change my air filter and cabin air filter. And I asked them, like, what would be the price. They quoted me like, I think $100 for cabin air filter and another $100 for air filter. So at that time I did not go with that service, but then I quickly went to YouTube, checked out like how to change a cabin air filter and air filter, and it seemed like it was just like 5-10 minutes job. So I said, hey, why can't I do it? Then I did not have all the instruments and all. So then I basically ordered those both cabin air filter and essentially air filter from Amazon. I think it costed me under $20, both of those items. I had already seen the video. In fact, I did just needed like a screwdriver. I just went onto my car. In maybe in 15-20 minutes I was able to install both. So I did all of it in like probably 20 under $20. And meanwhile, I learned how easy it was to do it, and they were charging me $200 for that. Of course, I had time for it. Of course, if I did not have time, then that wouldn't be like a good. But I wanted to learn and understand that. So if you can pick up other kind of like oil change, oil filter change, like when you go, like if you go to Jiffy Lube or any kind of these oil changing, like I just went to Valvoline. I got my oil change just recently, I think just 2 days ago. They charged me like close to, I think, $60 for doing that, and this was after like a lot of discount. I got some coupons or something, but in general, they charge close to like $100 or 80 or 90, something like that. If I were to do it myself, because you have to dispose of the oil, and you have to lift the car and take out the previous oil, like the rotten oil, it's just too complicated. So I did not wanted to get my hands dirty. You could probably do it for like $30 or maybe $40 if you get the uh, oil yourself. But I thought it's not worth my time, so I did not do that. So yeah, definitely try out these things. uh, I think software is still going to be important. You can see my other podcasts. I have mentioned about like people who have pie-shaped skills. I always talk about it, meaning you have expertise in 2-3 areas, or a few areas, let's say in machine learning, in distributed computing, in cloud computing, in security, uh, and you can apply those skills to broader areas, multiple broad areas like banking, finance, e-commerce, risk, fraud, targeting, advertising, search, etc. Then you will be in very high demand. So I'm not talking about being a generalist. I'm talking about being specialist in multiple domains, not specialist in just one area, like at least 2-3 areas, and being broad enough that you can apply this and extrapolate it to multiple dimensions or domains. Then you will be in very high demand, because it's very difficult to replicate such kind of people who have multiple dimensions, who understand multiple areas, and broadly can basically extrapolate in those areas even though they may not be expert in those areas. So such kind of skills will be very much required. In fact, I made a podcast on product sense, like if you are a software engineer or an analytics person, etc. Being able to understand business, being able to talk in business terms, being able to come out with requirements, being able to think end to end is going to be very, very valuable. So product sense is very, very important. So if you can pick up product sense, build that product sense in your capabilities, you will be very, very valuable for the customer or the company. So next, let me talk of. So Shivansh Sharma has, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thanks, Shivansh. Ankit DRV has another question. Taking notes, basic mechanic, welding, moving services, handyman, renovation. I should register an LLC, get the license for general contractor in parallel with my analytics job. Yes, Ankit, I'll definitely advise that you should definitely register an LLC in the US. It's rather very easy. You can do it under $100 online. It's very easy to set up an LLC, and basically it's even good for your even if your LLC doesn't do much of the work, whatever expenses you have through your LLC, it will at least help you basically lower down your tax burden on you. Even if you have your full-time job, W2 job where you make money, and let's say you're paying income tax like to IRS, let's say $50,000 a year, or like $10,000 a year, whatever that tax that you're paying to IRS. Just having an LLC, you can show expenses in your LLC, and your tax burden would go down with whatever expenses that you're able to show. That's the benefit of having a business. In business, whatever revenue that you make, you cut down the expenses, and after expenses are cut down, whatever the balance amount is left, you have to pay taxes on that. When you work for somebody else on a W2, then as soon as you get your paycheck, they deduct taxes on your total revenue or the income. So it's always beneficial to have a business, because in the business you can deduct the expenses, and whatever is remaining, the profit part of it, is where you have to pay taxes. In a service, when you work for somebody else on a W2, they deduct your taxes directly on your revenue, not on your balance profit. Because even in service you have expenses, right? You pay you pay rent, you pay insurance, you pay healthcare, and all other expenses of food, etc., etc. But you cannot reduce these expenses through your tax. But a business person can always expense out all those things, like, okay, my car expenses, my my rental, my mortgage, all the other kind of things, and then they have to pay income tax on that. So yes, I would advise definitely have an LLC. You can easily open up an LLC under $100 in US. Any state is fine, wherever you live. Doesn't matter. It's all online nowadays. And basically start recording, your expenses there. And whenever you get your W2, when you file your taxes as an LLC, you can basically deduct several of your expenses, and as soon as you'll see, your basic tax burden will go down. So even if you don't make money, you'll at least reduce your tax expenses. So that would be very great. So I think great discussion out here. A lot of questions that have been asked. I hope I tried my best to answer those questions impromptu. I would just leave you with a message that one silver lining in this whole episode is happening, is that at least the Fed is saying that inflation has softened in the month of April. We have already surpassed like May. Uh, I don't think food inflation has softened, but it is heartening to see that, because the overall industry and the economy is in a turmoil. Amazon, Target, and Walmart have announced that they are going to do rate cuts, like price cuts on essential goods. I don't know when that would happen, but they have just announced it right now. So it is expected that in months of like June and July, at least in grocery section, like the produce that we eat, like the food inflation might come down. Because if Amazon, Walmart, and Target start cutting, then other retailers will also have to follow suit just to be competitive. So we'll wait and watch. Unless that happens in our grocery bill, I will not believe that is happening, but that's what they have said. So fingers crossed, hopefully they will cut these prices, so finally we'll get back to 2019, I guess, before the pandemic prices. Because everyone knows that all the essential goods, whether it is milk, whether it is bread, produce that we eat, they have all doubled or maybe even tripled in the last 2 3 years actually. So I'm hoping like we'll get back to some normal, and we might see some price cuts. If not more, anything would help for this economy. So great. Thanks everyone for joining. If you like this video, please do share, subscribe it, write more comments even once the video is posted. Do share these videos more and more with respect to your network. I think it will be very beneficial for all of them. I'll come back with another video. As I said, I'll talk about the Indian elections. That video will be in Hindi, because a lot of interesting thing is happening in India with these elections coming to an end. So before the final results come, that is on 4th of June, I want to do another video so that I can also see my predictions and match it with like exactly how the election results play out. So stay tuned. I think most likely I'm going to make it tomorrow, and we can join again if you want to come, and if you have any interest in learning about the Indian elections and how all those things are going to play out, and some of the asks that I will have from the new government, which is going to form. Basically, I'm going to ask Modi, because if you would have followed some of my, sessions earlier, I always said that Modi is going to come. Of course, we don't know the numbers, but in my mind there was no doubt at all that Modi is going to win again. Maybe the numbers were not sure, but I knew for sure that he would come again. So thanks once again for engaging your content. It is very very exciting to read your comments and respond to them. I hope I'm making a difference in your careers, in your lives, etc. I'll leave you with a message that economy is in turmoil, so it's not about you, it's not about the company in which you are working, it's more to do with the overall macroeconomic conditions and the economy in general. That is why we all are facing the heat. I'm facing the heat as well, you guys are facing the heat as well. I hope you continue to have your job, you don't get laid off, but even if you do, it's not the end of the story, it's not the end of the day. Maybe you may not find a job for another like 6 months or an year or something like that, but I'm hoping by 2025 things will start looking up. And again, you can either shift your industry, you can upskill yourself, or you can pivot to a different industry. And life is pretty long, right? I mean, these things do not matter, they may give you a jolt, these are like kind of milestones and maybe major kind of pivots in your career. But over a long period of time, when you grow older, maybe when you become like 50, 60, 70, whatever time, when you look back, those will be just small portions in your entire life story. So don't stress out, exercise, eat right, spend time with your friends and family, keep your mind cool. If you are actively applying for jobs and you're not getting success, it's not you, it's just the timing in which we are at. Take time off, spend time with family, like just take like 1 or 2 weeks off and then try to apply again. It's just that we are in a very competitive market right now, lot more people are in the market. And as you know, it's like a supply and demand equation. Whenever there is a oversupply of people who are qualified to work, there will always be a big challenge, because employers now have thousands of resumes to choose from, so it is even difficult for them. So just give it some time, maybe by end of this year things will start kind of looking up. And be prepared that AI is here to stay. Generative AI is coming, it is going to impact productivity, and one sooner or later companies and enterprises will find a way to improve productivity through generative AI, which would mean that uh, teams that used to be 10 people big, 15 people big, will now become 2 people big, 3 people big, because they will not need as many people to do the same job. So you would still need critical people, you will still need good people. It's just that you'll have to have extra skill set, as I said, product sense, pie shaped skills. Those people will be in demand in future. Just learning just Python, or just learning just security engineering, or just learning DevOps will not be good enough, it will not differentiate you. But if you know DevOps, if you know cloud, if you know data, if you know AI, then you are a full package. So that's all I'm suggesting right now. I hope you enjoy your day, rest of the day. We'll meet again tomorrow when I come back with the election analysis of India in Hindi. Talk to you soon. Take care. Have a nice day and bye.